the only way it's ever worked for me is by breaking things down and thinking, well, you know, tomorrow I'm going to buy some food and cook a meal. I'm going to stop drinking coffee at 7 o'clock. I'm going to drink more fruit juice. I'm going to buy those 3 apples, and so on. So it's like just it's little things, I think. But the problem, of course, when you're down, is that the whole world becomes bleak and black, and it just doesn't feel possible to tackle it as a whole issue. So I don't know if that's particularly helpful, but for me, it's you have to chunk it. You have to chunk it. Otherwise, it just becomes overwhelming.
Yeah, sometimes when you're not feeling great, everything just becomes too much. And if someone said to you, "What's the problem?" The response I'd probably give is, "It's just all too much." Whereas actually, as I said before, I know it's possible for me to carry on at work, but not see my friends or not feel able to, and not do the things that I enjoy. So maybe it's the same sort of thing in terms of breaking down the problems and thinking, right, it's not work itself that's making me feel anxious today, it's that meeting specifically. So yes, I'll go into the office and then I'll go to that meeting. Or maybe I'll tell a colleague, right, if I don't feel like, if I'm not sure about the whole meeting, if I just leave, or I might just go and get a cup of coffee or go and get a glass of water. So it's about identifying the elements of it so that it's not the work, the whole job, that's too difficult. Or it might be with friends, not wanting to phone them might actually be the difficulty, but there might be other ways of communicating with friends, by email, for example. So you don't have to sort of stop the whole thing and work out, what am I finding hard at the moment? It might be making phone calls, but that doesn't mean that I don't have to see everybody. So I think breaking it into smaller chunks makes it much more manageable.
When I had difficulty in get up in the morning, I had to break down my activity into smaller pieces. The getting up itself was a task, so I had to set the alarm. When the alarm goes, you don't still get up. So it's okay. You still take another 15 minutes. You still have to focus on, I need to get up. So then you get out of the bed. And the next thing, you may not want to do it, just sit down. You may just want to sit down. But still you have to think, no, I have to make my cup of tea. And if I don't boil my water, I can't drink the tea. So I have to keep telling myself, I just have to do it. So you just look at the activity for that moment only. You don't think of the next step that you're going to do. You just do one thing at a time. Then it becomes smaller and easier. It doesn't become a big picture. If you look at the big picture, it's very difficult to get started.
Sometimes it helps me to break things down. You know, for example, if I've got too much choice, I just shorten it. You know, I just don't give myself so much choice. I simplify things.
Well, first of all, prioritise what really urgently, what's the one, because you can't think of more than one at once. And, you know, sort of writing it down and looking at that and brainstorming as many different, anything that you think could be a solution, no matter how ridiculous. And then having written that down, you can come back to that and look at them and sort of, well, what would be the advantages or the disadvantages of trying out each of these options?
You know, things become enormous and so difficult to tackle, and I guess what I've found quite helpful is to break things down so that if I could use the analogy of a staircase, you know, at your worst you can feel so de-energised, so demotivated that even just climbing that staircase can seem really daunting, and maybe it really is daunting, but taking a step at a time. In time you'll find yourself at the top of the staircase, but each step seems that bit more manageable than looking at the whole staircase.
Although everyone has a slightly different way of talking about it, each person solved their problem one by one using the 7 steps of problem solving. Step 1. Identify and define the problem, then break it into small pieces, chunk it. Step 2. Think of as many solutions as possible to just one of the pieces. Remember, Ruth said, brainstorm it. Step 3. Look at the advantages and disadvantages of each solution. Step 4. Choose one of the solutions. Like Philippa said, if you can't telephone, then write or email your friends instead. Step 5. Plan the steps you need to take to carry out the solution. Step 6. Carry out the plan. Step 7. Review the outcome.